Oh, thanks for watching the VOD. I think I'm caught up on VODs. The music levels may be off a little bit. We'll wait for people to come into chat to let us know if that is the case. In the meantime, I will continue to drink some caffeine because it is 8:02 p.m. and I'm old. Just, I guess, wait for people to come in. XV's the first one in. There you go. What's up, Gulo Gulo? Excuse me. Oh, delicious, unhealthy drink. Tiff, hello. Ghastly. What's going on, y'all? How was your weekend, everybody? Does this need to be adjusted? Hello, Wicca Sloth, Meeks. You're watching on the phone. It was time to reinstall Windows. Knock on wood, my system doesn't just like restart and force this update on me in the middle of the stream. If that happens, I'm not coming back. You can go ahead and tell everybody. Hey Sean Chaz, is this the group quickie meeting? It is. I may only stream for 2 hours tonight because I haven't seen Jasmine all day. She went directly from work to the range, I guess. And so, yeah, I catch her up on some household stuff or whatever this evening before bed. Hey, Hermit, Gunnavolf, Serenth, Bill, Talet, Cryptini, Tsunami-san, my good friend Justin Beard, Aaron Gunn, Corvus, Simon, Swanee, Rook, Zombucket, Skeleton. Yeah, we're good, Zombucket. I hope you've been good. I'm gonna call you Mr. Epkiss. That's what your name is spelt like. The Chaos Bean, thank you for the follow 15 minutes before the stream started. That's dedication. Lich, hello. Lich, I saw you being a good role model in Discord the other day. I was so proud. You've come so far. Creaky Doors, hello. It is 8 p.m. for me. But good morning to you. Sleepy Druid, hello. Chaz Solo. Sathaski. Seaborn 3000. Quick 44. Cryptini said, I spent the weekend playing poker with some buddies and celebrating getting my CompTIA A+ certification. What is a CompTIA A+ certification? Is this a live commentary stream for the race class combo fight? Sure. It's from work to shooting. Might want to let her be for a bit. I've had work days, or I had days like that. Yeah, Bill. No, I think she enjoys it. It's relaxing to go shoot to Pistola. Computer I almost said computer certificate. My German's not getting any better and my English is getting worse. So I really don't know what to do. But yeah, congrats on that. Congrats, Cryptini. Cryptini said it's like a foundational knowledge IT certificate, mostly geared towards help desk roles. I want to start getting into databases. Right on. Is that something you just kind of took upon yourself to get and learn? Catalyst 08, thank you for the follow. Lucid 86, thank you for the follow as well. When you're bilingual, say I'm not sure how to say it in English, so you sound smart instead of dumb in two languages. That's my go-to. That is absolutely my go-to. Oh, I forgot how to say that in English because I'm so cosmopolitan and have been speaking the other language so much. It's not true. I don't like lying. Hey, John. Cryptini said, yeah, I'm learning this because my whole career, reality TV editing. That had to have had some moments. Reality TV editing has left the country. I can't compete against overseas wages anymore. Oh no. Oh man, you mean we've got our foreigners editing our Jerry Springer now? What in the world? Are you considering any imminent changes based on your Adrelon play? Me personally or the team? I think we in general, every once in a while, will see some stuff that they're doing. And, I mean, there's some stuff that will be changing that's been on our list. Like, we got a lot of stuff on our list that we've just got to get to. And then there's other stuff that we'll look at and see and go, oh, okay, you know what? Seeing this in action, it kind of makes sense. Excuse me. Those of you that are new here, new followers, I apologize in advance. I burp a lot. It's 8:09 p.m. for me, so streams often happen after dinner. And then I've got to sit here and like try to maintain good posture. And the more I slouch, the more burps come out. So I apologize for burping a lot. Metal Magikarp, thank you for the follow. I love the Gatherables. Those are the Gatherables work really well for them. They may work for us. We're doing, we've got a few more harvest nodes and stuff like that we've been adding in here and there, and so we're getting a little creative with their placement. And Rift has been working on that, and the artist has been supporting that. But I think their art style just makes it so much easier for them to add like those little tidbits and have it just feel so well integrated and polished. So their Gatherables are really, really cool. And we'll see over time. Maybe we'll get more and more of that type of stuff in, and maybe it will fit. A belching robot is correct. Join a cult. That is a good message. Thank you for the follow. Candyman, hello. Fantasy Freak, hello. Did you guys come in together? I forgot to say hello when you came in. I just answered your question. And Fantasy Freak and Candyman seem like they'd enter the club together. I'm drawing 8x8 pixel vegetables right now. It's still hard. Yeah, but I mean, when everything's kind of pixels, I don't know. I think the art style allows for it a little bit better. Well, all classes have spells, skill research, and M&M, not just casters. Tsunami-san, I do not know. That is a good question. It seems like it would be fair to leave it open, but then again, it kind of helps lean into the caster fantasy if you make it only available to them. Do you really want like a, ogre fighter like sitting there researching spells? Just fantasy-wise? Don't answer that, because I'm sure somebody will say, yeah, of course. Hey, Darius. Hey, Blue Queen of Dragons, Perez Dispenser. Listening to the stream on my way to In-N-Out. Well, I hope you enjoy your food. I hope you get everything that you dreamed of. American reality TV is being edited in Ireland and some in Canada. Oh no, those are the worst people to edit our national treasure. Creaky Door said I made my first game in Unity last week. Was a lot of fun. Right on. Was it like just a little kind of simple Flappy Bird thing? Because if so, I respect that a lot. You know what I mean? Like games that you can just complete. I recommend that to a lot of people, but it's hard for people not to get in there and immediately want to like make their magnum opus straight out of the gate. Mohawks for races win. There may be some Mohawks. That's an art question. If we if we throw this over to Zach or Zukin or Goblin or one of the artists at the end of the stream, feel free to ask them. A little like Flappy Bird, just 3 small levels. Perfect. No shame in that. Finishing something is the hardest thing to do, so if you make something small, you can actually finish it and be ahead of the curve. Black Rose, did I say hello already? How am I doing today? I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It was overall a good day. Got a master spreadsheet started with Nick, discussion with Nick, just like looking at stuff that we got to get done before, well, you know, before EA and then shortly after EA as we're going into milestone, or I keep saying milestone 1, module 1. What are we attempting to work on today, robots? A Black Rose, a Scythe. We may plop some spawn points down in here today. We're in Evershade. I almost said Evergrove, the old name. We're in Evershade. We're going to look at maybe cleaning up some volumes, making them poke through the world a little less to make some people's lives easier. And so less shit spawns on the other side without additional work. So like this one we can clean up. And just some stuff like that. Keep it pretty simple today. Be in a different zone so you guys get a change of scenery while I do no work. Oh, Tsunami-san said, as per the above, I was thinking more along the lines of every class can get better versions through research, kind of like Scribe. That's interesting, like researching your abilities, similar. So basically, ability and spell research. It may actually be, let me look, that may actually be what we have on the list. Let me scroll down because we were talking about a lot of this stuff earlier today. And we still got some stuff that's like floating here at the end. Let me delete all these rows. Delete these rows. I could have sworn we just had this right here. Research and spell crafting. Yeah, it might be, it may wind up being an ability thing as well. I don't know. Nick's VOD hit on it a tad, but didn't go to detail. Yeah, I've got that. I've on the second one, I'm only like, I think 20 or 30 minutes into it. I gotta finish. I've not been podcasting during work the last couple of days, because I've had to like actually think. If I get back into propping and stuff, I will be able to keep catching up. Seems like a lot of stuff left to do. Of course, it's an MMO. There's a lot of stuff left to do before EA, and then there's an enormous amount of stuff to do before the game is, air quotes, done. Interworld said, I'm loving it. Let me slow down. I'm loving M&M. Great job. Great game. Hey, thank you very much for that. Are the zone volumes stored with the zone data in the client files? No, they are not. This is all server-side data. Taunter Guy said, I had a question about the water elementals in Shallow Shoals. Killed about 75 of them. None of them dropped loot. Is this by design right now? No, it is not by design. We are still itemizing a lot of NPCs. Rook said Nick's streams have been pretty awesome. Hearing the reasoning behind class design decisions was both cool to peer behind the curtain on and also really reassuring. It is good stuff. Those of you that have not checked them out yet, I'm not just saying it as like, oh, go check out like this VOD or that VOD or whatever. As like a random thing. We have a shitload of VODs. I think we've got like 700, 800, 900 VODs up. But go look for over the last, I think like 2 weeks, you'll find 2 Nick Q&As on class design and abilities and stuff. They're each, what, like 4 hours? And there's a lot of information in there. So I think it's, for those of you that have come in here a bunch, or those of you that are coming in here and you're like wanting specific, like, details on like classes or some of the combat stuff, whatever, please check that out. And if somebody wants to just grab those VODs and link them here, that'd be perfect. Yeah, you don't, I mean, they're great because you don't have to, like, it's, you know, you don't have to sit there and consume it all in one sitting, but I do think it's worthwhile to go through all of it. Are there plans for account-wide storage solutions for character-to-character gear transfer? There are. We've already discussed the allowance of initially. I thought we were going to allow a couple of not account-wide across servers, but account-wide on a server in a local area bank slots. Did I say that right? So essentially, the ability to, yeah, you can watch those on Twitch, or you can watch them on YouTube. Nick's already uploaded them to YouTube. But thank you, Wickersloth. So Meeks, the idea is you would be able to transfer items between characters via these bank slots on that server in that city. Within the same city, yeah. So we've talked about that unless something changed. I didn't get the memo if it changed. I just, you know what? Matter of freaking fact, let me add that to the spreadsheet. Shared bank slots. Boop, boop. Tech. Placeholder, Ali. Priority, I don't know. It's not massive priority, at least early access. Got it. And then, yeah, the ability to do certain stuff like that in your player housing and other stuff will be more available. The ability to potentially expand the number of bank slots through like paying or whatever is stuff we discussed as well. Now, what about the 2 banks in Night Harbor? Yeah, you could swap it between those banks in Night Harbor. So zone/city, but not Night Harbor in like here in Fail and Draw or something like that. What's up, Quatos? Yeah, it's funny. Some of you folks that have been, I read in like the Alpha Discord somebody that was like sneaking into a building to stash some drops so they could swap items between their tunes. And they went into some like sketchy dark building and there was somebody else in there already doing the same thing. If I had to guess, it's probably 2 goblins as well. Werebear. And is it Almadusius? Almadusis? Like Amadeus? Amaducus? My wife was asking me, because I was reading something in German and I was just screwing it up. She was like, do you just not sound out the words or what's going on? I'm like, I don't do that in English. You think I'm going to do it in German? I'm surprised I get as many of your names right as I do. Because I'll see like English words and I'm just like, I don't know. I don't even bother to like phonetically try to sound it out in my brain. I just kind of like go with it. I just send it. I see the word and I send it. That looks like an Amaducus. Screw it. People just look at me like, huh? Those letters aren't even in there. What in the world, son? Why not have a vault in the housing that actually has game controls on it? A vault in the housing that has game controls on it? Interworld, yeah, I saw your DM and it referenced Nick, I believe, and I thought I sent like a screen cap of it to him to validate. Sorry. I will get back to you though, for sure. What is the current benefits of renting a room or a house? I honestly don't know if we've got any benefits in currently for them. Other than just to say that you did it. Hey, Encrypt. I thought the Amadeus song back in the 80s was saying hot potatoes. No, it was... That's some classic Falco there. The pride of Germany or Austria? I actually don't remember. Oh, storage? Let me... Well, I made it to the button in time. Yeah, I think you'll see some of that over time, Blue Knight. If I had to guess. What about a spell line that allows you to teleport a held item to a bank in a specific city? I could see that kind of thing potentially being a thing over time. Rock Me Amadeus is a song recorded by an Austrian. Okay, that's Falco. So Falco was Austrian. Is the traveler system still on the table for starting in another racist city while foregoing your class quest as payment? It is, Marcy. We haven't done a ton with it. It does come up from time to time. And that may even extend to like beyond cities. It may just be certain locations in the world even, right? So we'll keep messing with that. That is absolutely not off the table. Quato said my favorite was people in EC Tunnel that didn't have global illumination turned on, sit behind some boxes that drop transfer with like greater light stone brightness. They're like the cat that's sneaking and its tail's sitting out from under the bed. Back to the thing that you're saying, Rondo, about that spell line. That's the kind of stuff that over time, you know, that type of stuff will be popping up probably throughout early access on the way to 1.0 and maybe even after 1.0 is done, right? Like, you guys gotta remember, we've got a ton of stuff that we're trying to prioritize just to make sure early access is pretty decent to try to keep you around long enough to be able to have some cash to work during early access. There's going to be so many like additional things and ideas and spell lines and probably adjustments and over time, maybe some population changes and this and that and NPCs that come online. All of a sudden you find them in old zones and all sorts of shit like that during early access. Excuse me. Love the song playing on the stream right now. Really nostalgic. Kind of a Thousand Needles vibes from Classic WoW. Our music is all posted on YouTube if you want to hear the soundtrack in your own time. Hey, Steel Rose, Red 6. Orcish Morkish says, hey Sean, I did a bad thing this last playtest. It's been bothering me. I stumbled on multi-gold dropped goods in a dark corner and looted it all. The person making the transfer caught me red-handed and asked me for the goods back. But then they offered me 5 silver for the lot. I was so insulted by the lowball offer, I ran and kept it all. Do I owe this player an apology? Orcish, Morkish, what's race and class do you play? And while we're waiting on that answer, you are a human inquisitor. Ah. I think in the case of human inquisitor, are you a good human inquisitor or are you evil? Okay, you had sinister white hair. Now, that's kind of on you on how you want to play it. You could extort them for more cash. You could condemn them for being so careless with their goods. You could, yeah, I mean, honestly, you could go pretty much any way you would like with that one. Or you could be good, even though you have sinister white hair, and you could say, hey, now that you've sweated it out, here's your stuff back. Also, don't provide insulting couple silver, you know, rewards for something like this in the future. Should you expect a gnoll to bum rush the gate of Night Harbor every 20 minutes? You should not. But you might see, I don't know, a drunken Ashira stumble out the gate every 20 minutes saying something about having ruined the corner of the bar. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything crazy. Oh, people complimenting Robert's music. Those of you that are praying folks, give a little prayer for Robert's kitty. Took the kitty to the vet. She's 16 years old. Seems like everything's going pretty good, but still a little stressful. Or if you're not praying folks, put out positive energy, good vibes. If you're not into either one of those things, well, you're probably evil. And I guess, you know. Well, we'll see how that turns out for you. So yeah. Those of you that love Robert's music, just a little opportunity for you to put some positive energy back into the universe for our dude. Sure. I mean, if you're an evil cat enjoyer, then I guess you can, you know, be both evil and also. But yeah, we love Roberts. We love Robert. And we love that he loves his animals or his kitty. Oh, he's got more than one kitty though, I thought. Now I feel like a bad teammate. I lost track of the kitties. Is the blue spawn wonder areas? It is. Well, I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember if this particular kitty is Triminax in game. If you've selected Triminax. Have I implemented a trade skill station? Bill asks. I need to fix the blacksmithing station in Fail and Draw. I added a prefab, but I'm missing a step. It should be added as a. It should be a static, if I'm not mistaken. It should. I don't. It shouldn't be added as a prefab. It should be a static. And so it's added via that path. Twitch chat is the new Slack. Well, I mean, we only have a handful of team members in here. You realize how big our team is? We're currently, we just added one more person. We're 35 people right now. Let me see. I want to make sure I don't reveal the wrong thing. Getting... Alright, so if we look at statics, Bill. Yes, we have, we have added someone new. His preference is to kind of keep it on the DL for now, though. So we're respecting his preference. And I not to like have you guys run out and try to figure out who it is or whatever. Please don't do that. But it's just, I think part of it's just he plays the shit out of our game. Okay, so I'm looking, if you look at the static table, Bill. And Nick cloned himself. Yeah. We have the technology. If you look at the static table, I'm fairly certain. Let's look and see if there's. Yeah, so I'm seeing them. So you can find, if you search for like Anvil and things like that, you'll see how they're set up. So that should be the way that you set it up, and then that should be done with the with the static placement tool. Well, SSA Blue Knight, keep it to yourself. Shh. Salacious, have you not seen this zone? It's beautiful when the light's running. We got these gondolas that are the elevators. Smed confirmed. It is not Smed. You want to know how I know it's not Smed? Because every time I talk to Smed about doing an interview with you guys and coming here and hanging out, Smed's like, yeah, man, that sounds fun. Let's do it. And then just ghosts me. Like, every single time. So, it's not Smed. It's very Kelethan, this zone. The youths have described it as Kelethic, with 2 C's. With 2 C's, Rook. Our dear environment artist, Bilth, has been assembling the city now. More and more of the city is coming online. Was there any prior backing? Okay, so Sathassi says, I was talking to my wife today and she wanted to ask you guys if you have backing for the game or donations. I told her you have 35 people working on the game. We have paid out of pocket and everybody has donated their time. We pay out of pocket for essentially like our monthly. We've got operating expenses, so things like the software that we're using, especially things like Confluence and Slack and MailChimp. It's not huge, but it adds up. We've got some, ongoing contractor costs that we put out, help a couple people out, and for it's basically just Oh, actually, if your wife's into this kind of stuff, let me show her something. Pause. Don't. You guys behave. There we go. Qualtos is faster than I am. You'll have to work on that. There you go. Click on the link. Or have your wife click on the link. Speaking of wives.
Hello.
Hello. I'm going to mute you for one moment. Kissing all by yourself, handsome. Did you not see it? How come I don't kiss the community like this? What, you didn't? Where have you been? Racer X 0911. Thank you for the follow. Speaking of how open we are, you can tell, you can also mention to her that our hope, and I think it's covered at the bottom of the costs page. Our hope, and this is something that we're working with Swanee on right now. Actually, Swanee's been doing a lot of our web-based tooling. The vast majority of our web-based tooling, our petition system, all the good stuff. Excuse me. We want to put together a community dashboard that is one page where you land on it and it links to that type of stuff more easily. So it's easier to find, because we've got, like that's buried in early access, right? So we want to have a place where you can go, you'll see our goal is to, and we'll see, maybe we'll chicken out when we go live, but our goal is to not only show you our historical expenses, leading up to early access, but to show you dashboards for our ongoing KPIs month to month. We'll see if we're able to maintain that month to month, but we should be able to just by providing like a public facing dashboard. If we've got them internally, we should be able to have a public facing one as well. And we want to show our revenue, our allocation of revenue, so that you can see like what we've prioritized in terms of if we've got the cash to ramp up the team, staffing, allocation, what's being used for outsourcing, what's being set aside in like a war chest if necessary, what's being given to the team as profit share, which all of this stuff then means that we need to speak to it, or we will speak to it. And so if you're like, oh, the game's not done, but you're given profit share, and we'll be like, yeah, no shit. Like we have people that have given 4, 3, 2 whatever years of their life with no compensation. We're absolutely, if the money's there, we're going to allocate some to trying to give them back something. We'll let you know, like if we run into snags with some of these ideas in terms of like legal or tax stuff. But we've got a really great service that we're going to be using to assist us with this called Oyster HR. So that's on deck for if and when there's cash. Yeah, but we want to be able to show like the KPIs and stuff, because you're going to see things where you go, oh, wow, the number was bigger. Now the number's smaller. What's happening? Dead game, right? And we're like, okay, well, yeah, we see it's going down here. Maybe it's because the first number was bigger than we ever expected, and now it's reducing down to a stable line where we kind of expected to be. It's hey, we're seeing, you know, this issue here. We think it's because of this, so we're going to try working on that type of stuff. Other stuff that we want to be able to do on the dashboard is show, give you some insight into what bugs we have in the system. We don't want to show you the full like GitHub issues database, just because it's like there may be features that we don't want to reveal yet, or there may be exploits that, you know, that it's not necessarily the best thing to just like blast those on the front page if we're live. But then have you see the other issues. I think Swanee has some ideas on stuff for that as well. Give you an easy link to FAQs, give you an easy link to like, so basically just make it a easy place to find all the information that you would want about the company and the game in an ongoing way. So makes me love your company even more. Wife approved as well. That's great to hear. It's nice. We'll do and say things that not everybody approves of from time to time, but the one thing that I think people should never be able to do is say that we tried to like bullshit them or hide stuff or whatever. I am not. What's going on, my dear friend? How have you been? I love that you check in every year or so. The game is coming along. The game is coming along. How have you been? Has there ever been a game development this transparent? It sounds like it's fascinating financial study. It's I was talking to somebody. I was talking to somebody, very experienced industry person, a couple weeks ago, and running through what we're doing. And actually it was two guys, and they have come from a bigger company, and they're kind of talking about how their company tries to be transparent, but then they always hit kind of like limits with regards to what the executives or the board or whatever will allow. And for us, it's like, I don't know. The way I described it is we're kind of playing a game of chicken with companies that want to be transparent. It's like, all right, just be as transparent as us then, and we'll figure out whether or not this is a bad idea. It could blow up in our faces, but so far it's been really good for us, been good to us, and it could be a thing where, yeah, maybe it does change the way people look at game development, and maybe it does work for us. Assault2413, thank you for the follow. iTodd says, I think being able to show numbers when they're down, but players aren't subscribing, is an important note in the overall narrative of the healthy game. This is super good in my opinion. Yeah, I think there are definitely some misconceptions about how some of the numbers work as well, right? Because everybody just looks at, you know, the numbers that are available. And so when we look at actually monsters and memories updates. I think independent dev teams usually thrive. Take Expedition 33 as an example. There's something, some people have pointed out some things that are interesting about that team, though, because that's the team where everybody's saying, oh, the game was made by like 30 people or whatever, but they weren't counting like the 250 people that worked on it, like outsourcing or something. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm not trying to debunk that or shit on them in any way or whatever, but I do think it's, you know, that's one of those things where, again, more transparency leads to it's easier for us to speak to these things. And maybe they were very transparent. I just didn't see it or whatever. Agreed on philosophy. Not said. Doing good, jumping around among studios. Don't know if I told you last time, but I'm at Jagex now, almost 2 years already. Always keep an eye on you. Hey, we've got a few friends over at Jagex. And had some friends there off and on. Good people. I guess we won't be able to spread rumors about all the money being spent on It's Gonna Rock accessories. Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of one of the things we want to help with as well, right? Like, but anyway, what I was digging up is, if you guys haven't seen it, if you're into stats and stuff, there's a little mini update. Yeah, and it's, I mean, that's the thing. None of us are doing this to get rich, right? Like, we've got people on the team that have extremely good day jobs that are volunteering their free time. And think about it, like, free time is time they could have been spending with their family, watching TV, doing anything else, right? That's a massive sacrifice. And, you know, the people on the team, we've just got really quality people. All these guys could absolutely be doing something else with their time. So I think it's a huge gift to us, and hopefully it turns out to be, you know, in a sense, a gift to the community in terms of you guys enjoy our game, and then in response, we get your $15 a month. Chinny said, can't wait for when the game is released and someone has a YouTube channel called like Eminem Accountant and their main thing is to go over our weekly numbers. I think that would be great as well, because that would help us. They'd be like, oh, actually, your dashboard's wrong, or you're misreading this KPI. Like, no shit. Crowdsourcing a lot of this stuff has been good. So anyways, that link kind of goes into here. And I think because CCUs are available, that's what people focus on, and they don't necessarily think of, you know, other KPIs that may feed into it. Racer X actually has a big comment on this, and I want to read it because I might be wrong on something. And one of the other cool things about like just doing this on streams and doing it in the open is sometimes we have shit that's wrong. Like, you guys will spot something wrong on this or have a question related to the data that we put out, and we're like, oh, we got to fix that. So for us, it's like we're not trying to always be right. We're trying to, over time, not be wrong, if that makes sense. So let me get into Racer X's comment. Racer X says, Robot, hey Sean, love the content. I was watching your video the other day where you went over the daily CCU curves, and you mentioned erratic drops when there didn't seem to be any server events that could have caused them. I've got some insights on that. My day job involves looking at CC graphs for games worldwide, and honestly, your graphs look totally normal, aside from maybe the first day, which was expected with people staying so long. At lower CCUs, they tend to be extremely spiky, but as your population grows, those lines will smooth out. Yeah, and I probably did not articulate that very well in that, because for as much as I have to freestyle, I am not the most gifted at just kind of like speaking off the cuff like this. That is actually a point I made internally as well. So like the spikiness, I was like, guys, I don't know if these are issues, because I like went through and kind of was looking to see, like, if we look right here, let me see if I can make it. So I was looking at some of these areas like right here and wondering, did something happen that caused the curve to break up, right? And is there a common time frame or something? And so I just kind of like was talking to some of the tech guys and stuff, right? We see right here, where instead of it being smooth, there's almost like an event. Yeah, and it could be whatever. It could be East Coast lunchtime, like you said. It could be something. But I also did have the caveat of it could also just be that these numbers are so small that it's like working retail. I don't know if you've ever worked retail and like you can go an entire 2 hours with not a single customer, and then it'll be 5 customers. And then, right? So it can be, so anyways, that was one of the other caveats. So that might be it. Also, a lot of the sharp drops and spikes are usually stat errors. 9 times out of 10, it's just a Grafana glitch. And it looks like Werebear is stating the same. Seems like Grafana, depending on a data source. The graph panel will do drops like that when there's lag or a sort of timeout. Okay, cool. Happy to share more if you're interested. This is right up my alley. And definitely stick around the community. Always feel free to shoot me a DM or whatever. RacerX says, here's another example of the spiky low pop game. Yeah. I'm going to shrink this down. Oh, we know these guys. Well, we don't know them, but we've been following them because of a couple of our guys' interests in this style of game. Yeah. So it's just the low number jagginess. Makes sense. I think the main thing I was looking at, like, because especially if you see it on these where it's even smaller, right? Because it's subdivided. But when you're looking at this one's a little bit smoother. But there was still this thing where I'm like, what is going on here? Right? Like, so what's like? Is there something going on here? Is it where we ran into some shit and it, like the curve could have been a little bit smoother, or and that's one of those areas where it's like I'm a firm believer in like ask the questions and have it be nothing rather than ignore it, because I think a lot of, especially maybe smaller teams, don't even pay that much attention to some of this stuff. So, but that's all good insight. I'm glad you're here. And like I said, we'll be trying to get this information out to you guys as much as possible, and it'll be interesting to see if folks like you wind up keeping an eye on it and have some insights. So. Isn't it just get home from work EST, get home from work PST? It can be. It can be. What are we drinking today? A delicious Monster Energy Ultra. Craigo said, yeah, you can overlay geo info on it as well. Yeah, we may find that, though it may get super noisy if we start subdividing it even more, but as we're dealing with hopefully bigger numbers, then we can subdivide it and maybe have a much better view on what's going on. Let me scroll up really quick. Sorry, I'm just reading now. Okay, I think I'm caught up on stuff. Playtest, upcoming playtest. What's up, Wyvern? Flying Killer said, I see a lot of people joining the Discord server. Are you having more account registrations? Oh, that's a good question. Let me look. gonna guess, probably. Yeah. A few more. We're up to about 34,000 registered accounts. How many of the accounts are bots? That one's like just looking at the registration. That's a bit like that's not something I can just do right now. I'd be shocked if we can easily you know what I mean? Like, not validate the accounts, but differentiate unique accounts from like people that have registered multiple accounts. That's something we've got to handle in game. Unless one of the guys like Swanee or Ollie or somebody knows. Siebes397 says, hello from Arkansas. Very excited for the future of this game. Heck, excited for the president of this game. Hey, thank you, Siebes. How's Arkansas? What is your favorite location in the game? Where do I wind up sitting the most? It's a good question. Probably somewhere on a beach. Been a few years. Now that you can look back, what's your favorite feature or piece of content you've been able to add to the game so far? I don't know. Things that I can't. There's a couple things that you'll have to just see for yourselves. I don't know. The dialogue on the Shifty Gnomes dialogue for Shifty Scrap Pack, I guess. Since Shifty Scrap Pack is a thing. Since somebody, I think maybe it was a Cat with Opinions or someone was posting in Discord a picture of like an EverQuest backpack, and then next to it like a Eminem specific version of it, and it was in the backpack said Shifty Scrap Pack, and I was like, "Aw, that's so cute." Aw. What can we do for each other, friend? Or whatever he says, I forget now. But there's been some cool stuff going in, and there's some stuff that's we'll slowly continue to put stuff in that's like pretty obscure and hard to find. So, what's my favorite class so far? I've been enjoying. I just started a new necromancer. I've been enjoying her a lot. Just because it's fun to be able to like tab over when I'm not working and solo on her a little bit. I want to play a cleric a little bit more, and then I really want to get into Inquisitor at some point, because when we were talking about new classes, Inquisitor was one of the ones where I was just like, we had talked about whether or not to replace the Shadow Knight with some new idea, because we're like, how do we want to differentiate these different classes and stuff? And so I just thought the idea of Inquisitor was really cool, and I just pictured him as like, you know, sort of like force choking badass. I really think Goblin's concept of the Inquisitor really nailed that mental image from the original pitch, and so I would love to like actually get good at playing an Inquisitor. It's weird to be like, hey, wouldn't this be a cool class, and then actually not play it enough to know. So let me run around, and I should probably be doing a little bit of work, right? Let me see if I can find any more volumes that are poking through that I can maybe help alleviate some pain with. Like this one. This is a big ass volume. What's the center of that volume? Wow, that's a big volume. Which one is that? Goodness. I need to make some adjustments here to make this easier to find. Selected transparency, or sorry, opacity. All right. Volume opacity down. Maybe that'll help. Okay, let me catch up on chat. You never gave the poor fellow his bag back. Join a cult, join the club. I think a lot of people have kept Shifty's scrap pack for a long time. Shallow Shoals on an island watching the sunset is definitely a wonderful location. Very Darth Vader-y pipes. RPG said, in the last test I accidentally deleted the note you start with for my Necromancer. GM was able to help me pretty quick and ended up giving me the Shadow Knight one instead. Petition again, we'll get you the right one. Seeb says, or asks, what lessons have you learned from other competing MMOs trying to get to the development finish line first? I love the way you guys are progressing. Seems like a lot less backing out in the way the alpha is presented. By backing out, you mean like switching direction or something? I mean, I can only speak to MMO projects I've been a part of. I don't want to talk about my assumptions on other MMOs. We've been able to maintain a relatively consistent focus and like a relatively consistent direction, which is night and day compared to some projects I've been on. And it's just because we don't have outside influence. We don't have people above us that have more power or authority or control than we do at the team level, that can randomize us or whatever. And I think between like Nick, Ali, and I, who are the primary people steering in the broad strokes, the team is very, I believe, I don't know, the team may say different, but the team is very entrusted to make decisions at their level or do things at their level. And if they have questions, they ask. And then we hopefully provide them with adequate direction or break a tie or whatever. And then we maintain sort of the broader steering towards the North Star. And so that makes it so that we're not fucking all over the place, and nobody in a position to make like big calls is coming in on our team and going, hey, I just played the latest whatever game the other day, and you know what? We should completely change X, Y, and Z and throw away 5 months worth of work. As far as I know, that's not happening on our team. If I'm just like, if I've got my head up my own ass or whatever and I'm missing it, then the team, somebody should say something. But for the most part, we're just we've got this pile of work. We seem to know what it is. There's a lot of details that we don't know. Like, we don't have a big design document for the whole game. And so that can be a problem sometimes. And maybe that is frustrating if you're a programmer or somebody. But like, our programmers are good designers. And so a lot of times our programmers are like, hey, I just grabbed this thing. Chip does an excellent job with this. And Crip's been doing a great job with this as well. So like, people will grab stuff and start working on it and be generally in the ballpark, and maybe we need to tweak something, or maybe over time we kind of decided, maybe this isn't working. We've gone back and forth with certain pipelines with like character art and things like that over the years, but I think most of that's stabilized. So does that make sense? I think that's what's helped us on this project a bit. Nosamuli says, hey Sean, been following M since early days, but just hopping on Twitch for the first time. Hey, it's good to have you here. I hope you enjoy yourself. A lot of people mention Blood Mage, Blue Knight. How's your poor DM box after the Game Master position? Has it recovered? It's good. We got 22 applications over the weekend. And some really good quality applications, so that's nice. Oh, just how you present the game. It's not broken when you update it, so great QA. Every once in a while something will break, but I feel like we do a pretty decent job of keeping the game playable. I mean, Ollie got the game playable for us like in the first week that we started talking about the game, and has done a admirable job of keeping it playable throughout development. It's crazy that it doesn't break more at the moment, knock on wood. Because, I mean, like I said, we've got 35 people working on it. Who is a bod? I don't know where the original bod came from, but the bod is essentially our Doug. It is like the default character, so if you're looking at placeholder NPCs or something, it's probably in a bod. Hey, what's up, Dreamed? There is definitely an island of abods. So, alright, that volume is not the one. That volume is not the one. John, after that one, you can go ahead and see yourself out. Ignore the background noise. That was just Jasmine making a ton of noise in the background without any warning. Let me check this DM really quick. I got a DM. Oh, sorry, I'm still reading. Thank you for bearing with the background noise. Where is this volume from? I know you guys are thinking. That should be something that is easier to figure out with the tools. Is it even a volume? That I swear there's a volume here. What are you? Volume. We'll go the other direction. We'll just... Everything's a volume. Is it this 10? Is it you, number 10? Nope, it's not fog. These are all going to be spawn related. And it's, well, but it can't be a problematic volume because it's only spawning one abad, potentially, in theory. This just seems like an errant volume. So since all it's spawning, according to this, is one abad, I can just, I don't know, move it out of the way. It is a decoy. It is a red herring. And I mean, it's 300 and 300's the default ID. So it's probably one of us made a volume and didn't do anything with it or something. Now, it can't be a named because the only thing that spawns on it is a bod. It's just a bod volume. It's nothing sneaky. Dark Inside, hello. When did you sneak in? Just now, actually. I looked up. Yeah, 300's an error. So if it's 300, then that's not the one I'm thinking of. Hey, Sinasta. And then what is... Well... 300s are cursed, I think. Something about that ID. It's the default ID in the it's the default ID in the spawn editor. Oh, wait. I was looking at the wrong thing. Actually. So let me go back down to this volume. So actually that one is in use. I was looking at the spawn editor instead of spawn inspector, and I think because it was kind of like just over here on the side, I thought I was looking at the right thing, but I was not. So this is just a basic newbie mob spawn volume. It's just the problem is this does not play nicely with our... This does not play nicely with RGO and other stuff here. Right? Like, so we've got basically just as much as volume under the world as we do on top of the world. And that's not... It's leading to a lot of additional work that has to be done that we don't want to do. So what we'll probably do for now, because one of my missions for the next week or so is to help clean up in here a bit before we have company in a few weeks. Let me go ahead and make this... Let me make this more obvious. Again, and I'm just going to hit save here. Excuse me. And then... I'll probably... I've got to start chopping it up, basically. And it's going to mean that we're going to have a whole bunch of volumes, right? Like if we look over here. If we turn the volume opacity up, then we'll see we got a bunch of these other volumes doing lifting here. And what I'll just do is, because when we're first implementing a zone, our habit tends to be that we tend to come in and we just go big ass volume, right? Oops. And then we'll just like cover an entire zone with the volume, just so that critters are probably mostly running around and it's all good and you see some movement. And ideally it's stuff that's higher level than you, and if you're not supposed to be there yet, then it's killing your face, and then you don't go there and get too nosy. But then we have to come in and clean up, and so that cleanup is definitely a process that's going to have to happen, and it is a little bit challenging for us in that we've got a bunch of geo that we're working around in the form of trees here. And we don't want we don't want the mob spawning into trees, but I think First has been doing some stuff to prevent that. And we don't, right, because of the volumes in here, and it's not set up properly, then they may spawn in there. And then we also, we don't want stuff where the potentially it's penetrating, and then there's somewhere where the mobs can stand under here. Then they may stand on that. Do they jump out of trees? No, they shouldn't. They shouldn't. But sometimes they do. And then there's so much verticality in this. It's such a bumpy zone that's also kind of a little bit of pain in the ass. So, what I'm curious to do is, I wonder if we hop into a current build. I know Lasava and Bill were looking at some things. I'm gonna check there. It looks like they're talking a little bit about the best approach for some of this stuff. So it may be that you don't have to get too crazy with volumes, but this is a long ass thread in Slack that's happened this evening, it looks like. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, like there's a lot just from this evening. So I'm going to mark that on red so that I can get back to that later and catch up on some reading. So Nasta, I am Sean. So if you're asking a Nick question and those exist, then I'm going to send you to Nick. But if you're asking a me question, but just got the name wrong, that's okay. I'll see if I can answer your question. Oh no, don't apologize. It's all good. But I want to clarify, just because there's a Nick and there's a me, and we tackle different things, and your question may actually be for him. And so I'll send you there because he's started streaming, and it's a good opportunity for you to ask those questions. By the way, hey Tupac. During the last playtest, I know you handed out some alpha keys. From conversations with a few members of larger guilds, it sounds like most of the current alpha players are level 20 plus, which is making it a bit challenging for newer players to find groups. Do you have any plans for newer, larger alpha invite waves soon to help balance things out? That's a good question. It's a fair question. Team folks, don't let me forget, we should sort of ask if we want to tackle that for that reason. So, good question. Yeah, the Nosamuli, or however I pronounce that correctly, the city's, like, this zone's just very, very in progress. So a lot of work's being done on it every day. You can see there's more and more stuff coming together in here. More of the actual city starting to come together, so more of the spawns and stuff are being moved up into the city. There's a second tier to the city. So there's actually 3 tiers to the city. There's this first tier. Well, there's 4 tiers if you count the ground, I guess. So there's the ground, then there's this first tier, then it's going to go up to a second tier, and then that's going to go up to a canopy tier. So yeah. Nosa said, I wanted to ask, I'm an architect into the same ancient Randall Graham stuff as you. Want to volunteer to help design some building cities. Can I send a portfolio? Shoot a portfolio over. We're not actively looking for someone at the moment, but if you send a portfolio over, we'll absolutely check it out and let you know what we think and what we, whether or not we think it's applicable or whatever. Dragon, I'm not sure. That's a good question for Rift or Nick. Yeah, I was about to say there are a fair number of like lobies running around, but it is a fair question. Blue Knight. Folks that are on the team that might be streaming today, are any of you going to be streaming or interested in streaming in like 30 minutes? Trotsky Terran Republic says, how do you feel about traversal time in a tree city? It is big, running around without Sal. Feels like traversal times will be much longer than Night Harbor. I haven't spent enough time like running around on a specific mission to tell you. Looking at the map, I think the thought is that there'll be enough utility, kind of like Night Harbor. There'll be enough utility distributed throughout the city that you can kind of, if you're in this newbie yard and your guild is up here, it's not like you always have to run to the opposite side of the city. If we find that that's the case, then that's something we may want to address. But it's kind of like Night Harbor. You can base out of the north side or the west side. And everything that you need is available in those sides. Stern said, I thought it was enormous too. It felt kind of silly. I mean, it'll be silly if we're requiring you to constantly run all the way across back and forth to do basic stuff. But if we provide the utility to you and you choose to run back and forth to do basic stuff, then you're silly. Can't wait to see your 30-second merchant loop map for this town too. We've already started discussing that. And it can be. I mean, it's very possible that you get in here and you're like, hey, I'm based out of this guild over here. I'm using this side of the city because there's a newbie yard there and there's just not the stuff that we need. I think it's worth keeping in mind regardless of intent. It's overwhelming to a new player. But what should I keep in mind? That the city is large and silly? How should I action that, Stearns? Help me out. Larger cities feel more real as long as they're also lived in and give new players more room to explore. More shortcuts, more bridges. Can pathways go through some tree trunks instead of then go around? I think that gets into, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a matter of how linear the traversal is. If we're finding that you're having to like always go through a very long linear path instead of there being multiple routes that you can take, then that's definitely something we can look at. Yeah, that there's a negative impact to the player regardless of how you intend the player to play. I suppose the action would be to either reduce the size or force some kind of education on them. Otherwise, they're just going to get lost and spend more time looking for things and playing the game. But part of playing our game is looking for things. Elevators or ladders to skip up the side of a tree. But why do you need to go up the side of a tree, I guess? It sounds more like a hypothetical than a I was in this specific city and I started here and I come up here because this is typically where I go to sell X, Y, or Z. I would agree, but I think it's detrimental to a level 1 to 5 to be spending so much time looking for things. Well, I mean, we've been trying to ensure that like newbie yards have the things that they need around them where we're starting people. I'm looking at this image right now. Central structure looks like you can shortcut by jumping down to the lower platform. Maybe more of that. I mean, in theory, but again, I guess the question is this a hypothetical or is it based on playing in this city? I've run into the issue of it takes too long to go from here to there, which I have to do regularly. Would it be possible, if it's not already designed this way, to centralize the district so that it's equal running distance from all newbie yards? This could help ensure a more balanced experience for new players, especially when it comes to accessibility early game. Curious to hear your thoughts. It depends on whether we're starting different people in random newbie yards or in one newbie yard. And then, again, it's if there's only one place where there's that utility, then maybe centralizing it makes sense. But if the basic thing that you're looking for is the ability to sell items from the newbie yards, then is that something where that utility is provided close enough to the various newbie yards? Does that make sense? Selling stuff was rough. Only being able to sell things to specific vendors took a very long time when all I wanted to do is get back to killing. Yep, but our game is not just about you going straight back to killing. Like, you can do that if you want, just, I guess, vendor less stuff. But, like, we're not focused on ensuring that you have the most optimal experience of make number go up. And sometimes your number does go down. My number went down the other night. It was pretty funny. I died while on a corpse run because I just was being stupid and watching a video on the other screen. And so I lost my level and had to laugh about it. Acceptable says my only complaint might be how the tailoring skill vendor was in Night Harbor and then some on the other side. I always thought of it more of a trade skill district. Was there not a tailoring vendor in the trade skill district or the night market? We don't really have a trade skill district at the moment. As well as probably Sage Side and also Blackfeather Bazaar. Yeah, Discord would be the best bet, Nosa. Do you mean that you'd want the city functions be set up with equidistant access in mind, similar to how the facilities are currently arranged for Northgate and Westgate? It's very possible if we find that that is, if that accommodates the common behavior that we see with regards to the newbie yards and how people are being moved around. Casters can prescribe spells. Is there a reason why melee shouldn't be allowed to prescribe skills? I mean, I don't mean this to be flippant, but the first thing that comes to mind is that spells and skills are different. If there's just one tailoring worker in Night Harbor, that's something we could probably address pretty easily. Does the team have anything in mind with regards to twinking alts as the game progresses? I think the only thing we tend to say on that is it's fun to twink alts. Like, we're not against it. Let's see. I'm just scrolling up right now, seeing if I had missed anything crazy. There was a very long, and I skimmed it. I haven't not read all of it. There's a very long Reddit post that was interesting that hits on some of these topics in terms of like Surfer said, "Hey Sean, asked this in Discord, but didn't get any hits. Has there been any discussion around seasonal like servers, ones that may reset after a year or two, keeping the journey 1 to 60 fresh?" No, we haven't discussed it. Is there a timeline for fleshing out the archer? Browse Discord. I know of no timeline. If you've got more like specific questions on the archer and like what's going on with it. If you haven't watched Nick's last 2 streams, I think they're each like 4 or 5 hours. He may have covered some of that there. So, Sarah, and you can, if you don't find the information in either one of those VODs, you can hit him up on his next stream and he'll be able to speak to it more. The only potential issue I see with multi-tier town design is that players might get disoriented, especially early on due to the lack of familiar landmarks. Part of what we want to do with this design is to include landmarks so that not everything looks the same. I think we've already seen like a difference in some roof colors. It's kind of hard to tell in here because it's not like, you know, it's a little bit messy. Some of the structures and signs and things like that should make it a little bit easier. But at the end of the day, like I still get confused in Kelethan. I think will be easier to learn than that because there will be essentially some different landmarks both on the ground, in the environment around the city, and then on the structures themselves. Are we going to have street signs on the bridges? Yeah, so there'll also be street signs. And we'll continue to integrate stuff like that to help you familiarize yourself. But the thing that I hear from folks is like, and you know, it's come up a few times in this discussion. There's a lot of people that speak for other people. So it's like sometimes it's I was able to do this, but I worry that other people will not be able to do it. Sarah, you're very welcome. Or I think that new players will, and it's like, it's very possible. But again, in that situation, you're speaking for other people. And there's, you know, essentially there are a lot of people that will check out our game. And I think the more just sort of like word of mouth or hype or whatever, people get out there about our game, the more that people will come to the game with like zero understanding of it or zero understanding of the intent or whatever. And that's awesome. I think we feel pretty blessed to encounter new people. But there are going to be a lot of people that come to this game and they don't like being lost, or they don't like exploring, or they don't like dying, they don't like recovering their corpse. There will be a lot of people that come to the game and find things that they don't like. And that's a risk that we take in making it so that those things exist. But then we're also just hoping to tap into enough people that like learning. Like, this isn't meant to be a zone that you spend 15 minutes on before you go, you know, on your way to the Barrens. And then from there, you just keep going forward, and you never go back again, right? Like, this is a place. It's going to take you time to learn the place. It's like moving to a new city. Now, in the new, you know, the first time user experience within a certain period of time, you know, we understand that there are definitely things that we can improve with the first time user experience that may help retain some people that would have otherwise churned, and still kind of fit into the bucket of like what we're looking for. But again, we don't want to screw up the formula for fear that we can't just maximize the number of people we retain. It's not what we're doing. We want to create a specific feel. And it can be that over time, like we churn, we get like 60, 70, 80% of the people come in and churn, and we feel like we're still working towards a reasonable goal. And it can be that the 20 or 30 or 40% that don't churn is actually a fine number for us, right? Somebody was analyzing our stats recently on like a forum or something, and they were looking at the number of characters that were created and the number of like characters that were only like level 1 or 2 or whatever. And it's like, oh no, they're not doing well. It's like, well, but it's better to look at like the account-wide stats, because some people just make low-level tunes and they're just making them to make them, right? And I think a number of people have commented in Discord and on Reddit and other places, which is like, hey, I made a low-level character. I just want to run around for a little bit. I'm not going to play until early access, right? So when we look at our account playtime distribution for the last playtest, yeah, and some people are saving names. That's true. But it's fair to say everything up to like 30 minutes is easy. Maybe that's just people churning. Like they ran around for 30 minutes, they can never find their guild master and they quit and won't come back. That could even go up to like 60 minutes. Maybe they spent 60 minutes just trying to find anything in the city, trying to find where to sell a rat eye. No, there's no rat eyes. A rat ear, and they got mad and they quit. Or trying to find a quest. So it's fair. Like we could potentially say that all these people churned. It's very possible. That's not how we would measure those cohorts, I don't think. But we could just say that these people didn't come back. We could further break that down and maybe identify that a lot of them were this first night, and that's why we saw this decline. But the other thing that we have to look at is then we have to look at the rest of the people, the rest of these numbers. And all right, so if we say I suck at like simple math, so let's just say calc up to an hour. So we got 124 plus 815 plus 554. So that's 1,400 out of 6,700. So like 1,400 people, if we just said, let's just assume, make a big assumption that people were quitting, that these are all, not even PvP players, PvE players, they were all people quitting, blah, blah, blah. All right, so it always sucks to lose anybody, sure. But it sucks even worse to be like neurotic in your handling of the game's vision and be like, oh no, we lost some people, let's change everything. And companies do that. I'm not being a smartass. Yeah, there's all sorts of people to log in. Couldn't find their trainer, couldn't find the first quest, died and couldn't find their corpse. It was too dark. They couldn't find anywhere to sell, and then those people may have churned. Now, that's not to say that people that played from 1 hour to 50 plus hours also didn't churn for some reason. I'm not trying to like be hubristic or an asshole or something. Borderlinos, thanks for the follow. But on the flip side, of the 1,400, the Ranger GM was a bit hard to find. Yeah, but like once you found them, did you feel silly that you were running under them the whole time? So 1,400 of the 6,700 accounts. Yeah, so just the people that played from 15. I mean, just the people that played from 25 to 50 hours is 1,081. The people that played 50 plus. Um, 377, then we can't, like, we're not going to pay our bills with 377 players, for sure. But we're looking at a distribution here. And the majority of our players, like clearly the majority of the people that played in the playtest played somewhere between 2 and 50 plus hours. Right, that's not a horrible starting point for a game of our sort. And the reason why I mentioned this is because there's always going to be the Goblin, and that's the thing. There's a lot of like just first time user experience stuff that we can look at putting in that won't necessarily damage the experience, that will make it easier to cover things. Like Goblin said, there's also the people that churn because they don't know. the tools to even interact with the world. It took a friend of mine like an hour and a half to realize you can type to an NPC who's blown away by and likes the game a lot so far. I think one of the things that we have to look at, and again, this may be bullshit, and everybody that, you know, wants to pull a Ralph and like, and be like, oh, well, fuck, they didn't do what they set out to do. It's completely possible that that happens. But if we retain enough of a critical mass of players that are basically identifying that this is a very unique experience compared to what the other things are that are out there, and they keep playing, then some of the people that were like, I logged in and I didn't know how to, you know, I didn't know it was a WASD game, or I didn't know how to click on an NPC, or I didn't know how, you know, that stuff. And again, I'm not saying this to abdicate the responsibility we have to make the first-time user experience easier to get into. We were talking about that earlier today when we were doing our list of everything that needs to get done before early access. The thing that I'd say is there are going to be people that churn and then realize there's still people playing, and then they're going to watch a YouTube video, or they're going to read they're actually going to sit down and read the user manual, or they're going to, you know what I mean, they're going to somehow reinvest the time to be like, maybe I'll give that another try, and maybe this time I'll arm myself. But I think the people that enter the game with the attitude of, if I can screw up in any way, or if I can not know something, this is bad game design, do better. You know, like, there is, I think it's not an insignificant number of people out there that we're going to come at it with a bit of like, you know, if I can do anything wrong, then you're wrong, game designer. Yeah, it's lazy game design. It's not 2025. It's not, you know, like, do better. Then yeah, there's definitely going to be some of those folks that will never give it another chance, will never check it out or whatever. Right. And I'm not saying they're wrong, and I'm sure somebody on Reddit or, you know, some forum or whatever, like the FOH forum or whatever, is like, oh, arrogant game designer or person that just like, but I don't know what else to say with regards to, there are people that like this, and yes, there's definitely some rough edges to smooth over, but there's people that power through that anyway, and they come out the other side and they're like, fuck, I really, really like this. And then there are people that don't like it, and our job, our hope is to have the people in the left hand, there be enough of them that we can continue to pay to have the rest of the game made. There are a lot of people in the old MMO community that use that as their argument against tons of legitimately bad game design. Which part? Why not make it very, very clear on the website? We can continue to try to make it very clear on the website, but I got feedback from a member of the industry recently on LinkedIn that said that our landing, that we did not have an about page on our website, so they were unable to determine what kind of game we were making. So, because we didn't have an about page. So, monsters, oops, how do you spell monsters? And memories. Monsters and Memories is a subscription-based, massively multiplayer online role-playing game that is currently in development. It's based on the gameplay, social interaction, and sense of being in a virtual world that we loved, blah, 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 blah. For more But he missed this. He did not find this. He landed on the landing page, but because there was not an about page, I guess listed up here, he was unable to figure out what kind of game we're making. So in that case, I just say thank you for the feedback, and then continue working on the thing that I was working on that day. Right. So I'm not trying to shit on everybody's feedback in this. Like, again, these aren't, you know what I mean? Like, it's more of, we talk about a lot of this stuff. There's stuff that people say, hey, you know, it's just lazy design or whatever. Like, we go back and forth a fair bit behind the scenes on some of these decisions and talk about the pros and cons of it. And we decide that, or we've decided that, hey, this one, we still want to keep this way because we feel like it's fair, right? Like it is part of, or it's necessary, right? Here's a very long Reddit post that Chip linked earlier that I'm gonna read out, and so maybe I'll miss some of your comments. And there is some, I think there's like some pros in here and there's some cons. I think it's a balanced take. So I'm going to read it and I'm going to try to read all the words coherently. Goblin says, I'm personally hoping we can get to the point where players are putting on their problem-solving caps to solve in-world stuff with the tools we give them, less having to figure out how the tools even work. Hopefully this feels in line with what you're saying. It does to some degree. But I think because of the number of tools that exist, like we've got to teach people how to learn as part of this, not just here's how everything works. Because I don't think we're going to easily in-game provide a here's how everything works. But I think there's a number of things that we can make a lot there's things we can make a lot more understandable a lot quicker. And again, like I said, we'll get the list to the team soon. Like we're just kind of going through and looking at you know, the fact that we've got like 0 tooltips, 0 pop-ups to say, hey, this just happened and this is what you should expect, right? So none of that's in, and I think we could probably get that stuff in without it being intrusive and feel too hand-holdy. But I think showing people the basics and then showing them where they can learn the more intermediate and advanced stuff should work. But again, it's, as we're discussing these things, I think there's always going to be a certain amount of back and forth, especially within the team with some of you guys that are coming from a different background or a different place. And that's a nice tension to have. And we'll try to find ways of making it so that some of the basics are more apparent without it feeling like it's pandery and Fisher Pricey and the presentation is lame, if that makes sense. I don't think what we're saying is mutually exclusive. If you know, essentially, which I think is what you're saying in your last sentence there, Goblin. A new player essentials leading to new player manual type stuff. That as well. I think some of the things that we do present, like even just like a visual thing where it's like, if I close out a hint, that should move, like it, I think it should visually quickly wisp over to the manual button and reinforce that. Like, yep, there's a manual. There's a manual. There's a manual. And at some point though, if people are like, yeah, but I should not have to read a manual, it's like, then I'm sorry, you're just in the wrong game. For some of the stuff, you will need to potentially reference the manual again, or reference the manual to find something that's like a even like more intermediate or advanced like utilization of the tool. Let's see. Let me catch up on what Stern's typing because they're taking the time to type a bunch. I found that a lot of people are regularly using the 2025 design of babysitting the player to an extreme degree as bad as their argument against weird, bad game design that tends to punish in odd ways. I find that punishing death with corpse retrieval is a pretty good example of it. It's a way to punish a player, but no one is asking if it's a good one. I think you're making a super big assumption that a lot of people make in like Discord or wherever. And I think just the fact that that assumption is being made about whether or not anybody's asking whether or not it's a good one makes it so that it's a bit harder. It's like, okay, if you're making that type of assumption, then it's possibly, then I don't know how to process the rest of the comments, right? Because we're already at a point where your assumption is incorrect. And I've got the feeling that your arguments are going to be predicated on your assumption, right? So then you're responding to someone else that says you described a penalty. Loss of your character is also a good incentive not to die. There's a million things that could be added to add that incentive. Corpse retrieval is, at a minimum, really weird. I'd argue bad design, right? But you're arguing that it's bad design in an environment where no one is. That's an absolute. Very few people are liable to agree with you. And there's this phenomenon on the internet where people will go into an environment where they say a thing to a room and the majority of the room says, hey, that's been hashed out, that's been discussed, we disagree with you. And then it's like, okay, well, but I want to keep arguing it. I feel the need to keep telling you guys are wrong. It's like, okay, but cool. I don't, why? So, for us, we like corpse retrieval, for example, using your example, we like the mechanic of a corpse retrieval. We like it as a mechanic. It's not in there just because it was in a game 25 years ago. It's not in there because we couldn't think of, some other way of doing it or looking at, some other game that has done it differently. I think, if anything, if you look at the various games that have been made over the last 20 to 21 years, you will see that there are some other approaches tried, and then they're just used and used and used. We're picking an approach that we like because of the way that it creates opportunities for us to interact with other players, creates a requirement to go back. Is it really that weird fictionally? I died. And leaving aside the fact that I'm able to respawn, I'm going to the place where I died, where all my shit is. As opposed to I died, and then I appear with all my gear, except for my silver and maybe the items that were in my backpack, because I kind of want to not penalize you, but it make it easier for you to get back to get your stuff. That to me is even weirder. That's even gamier. So, yeah. And it does make people have to make a choice sometimes of, do I want to go super deep in the dungeon when I've only got 40 minutes to play today, or do I want to maybe play it safer and hit the crocodiles over here? Like, I make that decision regularly if I'm playing a tune and I'm like, do I want to solo a little bit, or do I want to try to get a group? Right? Like, and then I was soloing the other day, and somebody was like, hey, shit, can anybody summon corpses because I died deep in Wormsbane? I'm like, well, I mean, I can't summon your corpse, but I've got invisibility on dead. Let me know if you need help. Right? So it's, yeah, anyways, I don't know. I don't think it's but again, I don't think it's a modern MMO has spoiled gamers versus it's not or whatever. It's just, it's a different game design decision. You know what I mean? So when I say that, I'm not like trying to be rude or be hubristic or whatever. It's more of a, you hit on the problem. What if I only have 45 minutes left to play, but if I die with 15 minutes left, the penalty is exaggerated in a way the developer can't control? No, we're not trying to control everything. That's on you. It's a somewhat random penalty where the negative end of the penalty can be wildly out of proportion. It's not random. If you die, your corpse stays where you died until somebody helps you recover the corpse via some mechanism, or you go and get your corpse. That's not random. Your decision of where you put yourself and what risk you put yourself into, depending on what your real life situation is, now it can lead to some shitty situations because you may think that, oh man, my group's got it, we're good, and you guys get a little sloppy or something bad happens and you wipe. And here's the thing, with regards to like the corpse recovery thing, we've already stated a number of times, and I don't fault you if you haven't watched all the VODs, and we should, get more up on the FAQ. But we have stated, and I think people do bring this up in the various discussions on Discord or whatever, where we will provide mechanisms in game where if you're unable to recover your corpse at all, the corpse will be recovered for you at a penalty. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not that bad. It can lead to insane situations. Example, first time playing a Fear in EQ. Yeah, but it's memorable. I was on a corpse run like day before yesterday, and like I said, very, very straightforward, very simple corpse run. And I was running back to my corpse because it was so straightforward and simple that I was watching a good part of a podcast. And right as I get close to my corpse, it's nighttime and I forget that giants spawn in there. I'm the one that placed those giants in there. I forgot that they were there. And I look up right as I hear, because I hear next to my podcast, I hear a big derpy like brrr and stomp. And my character's just dead. A giant stomped on me. Right? And I just was like, oh shit, I gotta get another. Hopefully I get another Sal, and then. But either way, I'm running back to my corpse tonight, and I just lost the level. I just leveled. Didn't lose it the first time I died. And I was like, and I laughed to myself and was like, that's what I get for not paying attention. It was a giant. And yeah. Any thoughts on having the UI, a small button I can press to open my inventory? In the event, hands tied up and I'm playing one hand unless I miss something there. There's a hotkey for opening your inventory. And there's a hotkey for opening all your bags at once. Whether or not we need an additional button on the screen, I'm not sure. All right, so I'm going to read this thing really quick. It's actually already after 10. But I'm going to read this. But I've noticed a sort of growing number of a growing number of posts like this. So yeah, I just read Goblin's post and I was holding myself back from making any lewd comments. Quatos, you can have at it. And on the upside, I did zero productivity tonight in this zone. I'll have to catch up tomorrow. But tomorrow is going to be a very productive day. I had a very fun, productive discussion earlier. Got some got some scheduling stuff to do in the morning, but then I'll actually be productive. All right, so I'm going to read this from Phil Switch Engage. Hey all, just a little write-up about the recent playtest and how it surprised me. I went into the recent playtest with absolutely zero expectations. I had not really liked the screenshots initially, which obviously prompted a firstly negative mental response, but the more I read about the classes and the world and game direction, it piqued my interest just in time to take part. What followed was such a unique experience. I was thoroughly surprised, and for the first time in over a decade, I felt that real MMO experience that we have all encountered from our past from time to time. Now, I do say that I'm writing this as a 36-year-old. I understand that there are those above my own age who have their own experience with MMOs and below who have experience with more recent MMOs, which, let's be honest, are a totally different kettle of fish when compared against the earlier generation of MMOs. Like all things, desires, wants, and potentially garnered experiences change over time, and even though we yearn for similar past experiences, but with a new face, it is a glamorized view of history we pull from our own minds. To my absolute delight, I find myself outside the north gate of Night Harbor as a newly created Goblin Shaman. I will admit that the new player onboarding experience needs work, but this is also alpha, so I'm not judging the current state of the game. Not as in a major overhaul, but a more hand-holding experience in the initial opening moments, because even though I have played pretty much every Western MMO released since 2003 or 4, I struggled to figure out how to put spells on my hotbar. And so this gets into like what Goblin's saying, right? And there's some stuff on there we've talked about, like we were just talking about earlier, like, you know, right click to just have it kind of walk you automatically, do some stuff, blah, blah, blah. There's some stuff that we can work on in this. Anyway, I will say that for those that are coming from a more modern MMO experience, yes, because I only say that for those that are coming from a more modern MMO experience, because yes, I did figure it out and felt all the better for it. However, I can see newer players giving up in frustration. I think there's going to be a percentage of that, but there's also an odd number of people saying that same thing. I struggled through it. I figured it out. I felt even better for figuring it out, but I'm worried about other people. On the subject of hand-holding, this game gives very little. There's room for improvement, granted, because you want those initial players to have a solid grasp of what they're doing, but it is also precisely because there is little information to begin with that sets this game apart, and this is for one huge reason: community. But again, I'm worried about those other players. I did it, and it felt awesome when I figured stuff out, but I'm worried about the other players. And it's a fair, like I've said 50 times so far tonight, it's a fair concern, but it is interesting how often people are taking away like, man, but it felt good for me. Let's see. And you guys keep talking to Stearns. Have fun with that. I'm going to keep reading this. I felt like there was an actual living, breathing world. The chat was abuzz with helpful chats and trades and little tidbits of info that other players had garnered or had gathered and were sharing. That's actually intentional, right? Like there's a certain amount of stuff that we've done in there intentionally where the hope is players will be able to share this with each other. Let's see. Now, this next sentence is purely opinion, and it will mean different things to others. But to me, this is what an MMO is. A game that provides a second home, a place where people can socialize without the intrusiveness of social media and data scraping, but an honest-to-God social experience where knowledge and experiences are shared in. In Monsters and Memories, it is a wonderful fantasy world which has been lovingly created by a team that are dedicated and passionate about what they're building. This isn't driven by flashy gimmicks or tangible metrics or whales or anything other than what would make a great game. Cora Kraken said, me and my friend never played EQ, so to start was a struggle, but at the same time we found a merchant that buys legs or WE felt so good. Yeah, I mean, there's joy in figuring things out. There's joy in learning. It's better to have players enjoying the game, feeling concerned for new players, rather than belittling new players who are struggling. Absolutely. And I think that they're speaking to that, right? They're saying that a lot of people are, it's right up here. It says, the community was abuzz with helpful chats. So I think we're on the same page, Nickelback. The game's ethos appears to be play and enjoy the journey because in a game like this, it isn't. It is about the journey and not the destination. There have been many different takes on the MMO genre in the past 2.5 decades, and these are enjoyed by many different players for a myriad of reasons. But Monsters and Memories leans into the fantasy journey where discovery is part of the enjoyment factor. If we compare to say, wow, that experience is driven by a quest hub and loot reward system. You play, level up, and get more cool skills, finish quests in a hub area, get some sweet loot that prepares you for the next zone. That is the model, and it's done very, very well. M&M is not like, wow, it's in its DNA, it harbors back to EQ1, admittedly, an MMO I never actually played, but its impact essentially created the MMO genre. Here the game tries to reward logic and problem solving over the previous discussed model. Figuring out that different vendors would only buy certain items was great. I know a butcher will pay me more for meat than say a general trader, and a weapon merchant isn't crazy for not wanting to buy meat from me. Learning where these different merchants were in the city made me feel like I was part of the world. Figuring out that when I needed burnt bone for a quest meant that I had to use fire on a skeleton, again, greatly rewarded my discovery of the game and its ethos. The joy from a game like M&M comes from this discovery. It isn't about getting mad levels or shiny new gear, which you can get. It's that your character exists in a world where adventuring has a particular logic to it, and to survive, you're going to have to learn. Questing is another area which initially confused me, not because I hadn't experienced before, but that I was so used to the popular model of big question mark or similar icon above the NPC's head that you can't miss. Again, this area needs a little bit of work to make it more approachable and digestible, but the core pillars of this are very, very sound and reward player interaction, not just generic NPCs, but NPCs with a story or not. In M&M, every NPC can be spoken to, and you have to read what they say, /say, respond to them to trigger words that appear in their speech. Some may offer nothing of value, or some may be able to offer directions, but some have a story, and talking to them, embracing the living breathingness of the world, rewards player involvement. Additionally, the game does not have a quest journal in the classic sense, but a log of conversations with NPCs you've spoken to. This is your quest guide, and sometimes asking more questions can provide you, the player, with more answers and easier directions or similar hints that will help you complete quests. All right. So then next up, I'm just pausing every once in a while, make sure I'm not missing anything incredible in chat. Whilst the journey is certainly different, what really makes it a huge part of this game is the social aspect. Not just an active chat and trade channel, this game is built upon interdependencies. Traders need to work together or train in everything. They can even buy property in the city and have their own shops. Players buy these crafted items. Characters that can buff give out buffs freely based on their own goodwill or for tips or trade, for example. This gives early Star Wars Galaxies vibes, and I feel this is an area that could be leaned into more, perhaps an entertainer, tradecraft, or dancing skill that gives a passive buff, etc. I am even sure the developers have something like this in mind. At the Westgate, I found myself sitting amongst large groups, just relaxing or selling their wares or offering buffs. Sat around player-built campfires, which give better regen when out leveling, for example. It's interesting. Some things do work the way you think, and some things don't. So that's kind of fun. And just being present in the world. But the campfires are great. From a gameplay point of view, M&M is trying to give a very different experience to MMOs that have been released in the past decade or so, and this means that a lot of younger generation of MMOs only really have a very modern perspective, and this in turn means it may not be as appealing. If you're one of those younger MMO players, I implore you to just give it a chance on release. If you're older, you probably don't need my words and have at least some understanding of what you'll be taking part in. The adventuring experience is not quest-based, but camp and kill-based. You form a group with others, set up and chain pull mobs to level up. It sounds kind of gray and old school, but a good group can provide for a great experience, and working together, surviving, getting decent loot, and getting a level or two as part of the adventure. That's a fair question, Simon. I think some of the like player driven, like, you know, again, like the entertainer skill and stuff, there may be things that players could be doing that we could provide for players to be able to do in the ends that might reinforce that even further, right? Like, you know, for people that just kind of want to stick around town and provide additional value. And who knows? I mean, there may be some stuff that we could pull in there. Like, Ollie's a big Star Wars Galaxies head. My closing remarks are this. Simply put, I was initially put off. The graphics didn't look good, but the more I played, I realized that while it's old school, the game has a unique art style that is meant to look old school, but is very much a modern game. I began confused, but as I learned, I was rewarded by embracing the journey and realizing the logic behind aspects of the game. I loved that the world felt populated and wasn't just individuals playing their own game in a character-populated chat room. People are connecting in a way that I haven't seen in a long time. Well, long time. And this is reflected in how everyone plays and interacts. It's a long way from finished, but the team are making all the right moves, and it's inspiring to see something being produced I honestly didn't believe was possible anymore. This is an MMO a lot of people have wanted for years, something fresh yet old school, and somewhere new to adventure with others at its foundation or core foundation. I'm looking forward to the next playtest in September, and we'll hopefully see you there. So I thought that was it was a really nice write-up. And the reason why it stuck out was because I've noticed, and again, it's confirmation bias for sure. Confirmation bias for sure, but there's you know, there's a number of like these that are popping up. And it's like people in the same age range, people with sort of similar experiences, and people commenting on similar things. You know, there are a number of people that are saying, hey, it's just got a very different feel. And it's hitting on certain vibes or certain feel that we haven't experienced in a while, or hey, I haven't had this kind of experience in a long time. And that's honestly, that's why we're cautious about the things. We're not just trying to be obstinate when we push back on certain feedback where it's like, oh, this is outdated, or this doesn't work, or this needs to be changed completely, or whatever. It's like, it's too easy to lose that feel. And I don't think sometimes the people that are most I don't know, voracious or whatever, and in that feedback are necessarily considering the implications of that feedback in terms of second and third order effects. And there could be some parts of the game that aren't in yet that might offset what people are complaining about. There, yeah, then that's the case with some of the stuff as well. Let's see what I'm missing. What's my take on global cooldown indicators on hotbars? I think you should see something on that front soon, if I'm not mistaken. I could have sworn that's something that Chip and the guys have been working on. Did you see NDP's most recent Eminem videos? I would like to say yes, but maybe I haven't. I have to go searching. Yeah, there's been some prototyping going on, and we're mainly just messing with like the aesthetic and stuff. Thanks, IGT. You know, it's interesting, and I know you're not saying this directly here, but it's an interesting thought. Is it Corbo? Over the years, we've heard a lot of people. It's funny, we've heard a lot of certain criticisms over the years, and then over time, those criticisms kind of disappear. And they're exchanged for new criticisms. And I'm not saying that the new criticisms are invalid. But like year one, it was like vaporware and what is this even about? And what makes you think you can make a game? And how are you going to make a game? It's like, you know, it's 4 of you or it's 3 of you. Generic, we're absolutely messing with vendor prices, availability of loot, different sinks for loots and all this stuff. Yeah, so then over time it's you know, those disappear because it's like obviously not applicable, but then there's new criticisms, and it's fair. And hopefully over time some of those criticisms disappear as well. You know, there's things like we didn't account for the difference in monitor hardware and HDR versus not, and blah blah blah, and then so it's like, oh, the game's too dark, and then we're like, okay, well, we because of that we want to have a gamma slider, and we want to give you like an understanding of where we think it should be placed, and then that criticism disappears, right? Because it's like, okay, well, you know, and some people are like, hey, well, now it's skimping it out or whatever. And so we'll always be dealing with something, but the hope is that, yeah, signage made large convoluted city complaints, right? So, and hopefully by the time we hit EA, a lot of the more common complaints are gone, and then it's more of just like my class is imbalanced, or Skulky was asking Goblin, but what's the take on chat bubbles above players for say? Just popping in a stream. Not sure what's been discussed. In the past, if you're asking my personal opinion, I hate them. The team is divided on it. For NPC text, I think it for the type of text that we have, we would probably need to do some real work to make it not look like shit. I don't like it in other games that I play, Hate is a strong word. I really do hate it. I really dislike it. Like I really do. I really do. But I understand why other people like it. Like I get it. It's just, you know, like, and especially if you're seeing it like in Say, it's one thing for NPC text to be more front and center. I've got concerns and issues with that, but like looking across a field of NPC or player characters, and it's just like, whether or not it's something that we put in that people can flip on for themselves. Bold Adventures and Rio Forever, thank you for the follows. Sorry, Bold Adventures. I'm not trying to make fun of you. I'm not trying to say you have horrible tastes or that you're bad people for liking it. I'm just saying that I can't. Why would that even come out of my mouth? I'm streaming. I'm a representative of the company. I can't say those words in that order. Is there a less crude way to say it? I will say that if I were to walk into an area and see a bunch of chat bubbles over people's heads while I'm looking at a beautiful screen of stuff, my fantasy would go flaccid. But if other people want to have chat bubbles, that may be a thing that we're able to put in, and because it is a client side thing, right? That is very much a kind of thing where maybe it's just a preference, but the default I still think should encourage the screen to be as free from that type of stuff, like the middle of the screen, as possible. And I can tell by the comments going back and forth that there is not Goblin, I said I have made many, all caps, attempts at some, all caps, feedback to direct players within proximity chat to chat box, but so far, no luck so far. Let me check. Let me go into Confluence. Let me look for first time user experience. Let me scroll down the page. Under its own category, communication, or subcategory, communication, one bullet point. An indicator that someone is typing to you. Sub-bullet. If someone has you targeted and is typing, you see bouncy dots as an example. It is in Confluence, Goblin. It's in Confluence. We have a first-time user experience page with a bunch of stuff on it. Some of it we're not going to do. Some of it we are going to do. Some of it we're going to just record and like have for, but you gotta see. Sometimes I think folks think that like we're not listening, and we're like, we're just gonna do it our way. Screw you guys. Like, I took the time to go into Confluence, into this page that we have for first time user experience, that everybody has been reminded at this point several, I won't say many, times to check out and see if their concerns are indicated on it. Goblin, here's another one for you. On the list of stuff that needed to be done, or that we think that I discussed with Nick earlier to make sure it's on the schedule and try to figure out when it's going to schedule. Responses to inaccurate prompts when talking to NPCs. Sub-bullet. Anytime they receive an inaccurate prompt, they reply with a random phrase like, sub-bullet for examples. I don't understand. Come again? Huh? Emote squints at you. Potentially couple it with an anim like a shrug. That was the suggestion that you provided 2.5 years ago? 3 years ago? I think. Was it not? Goblin? Rowdy Rickshaw. Thank you for the follow. He just made me think of a completely different Rickshaw from old internet history. Goblin said, oh shit, yeah, man, Sean is listening. Chat never give up hope. It's not that, yeah, guys, it's not that we don't listen. It's not that we don't listen. Just because we don't agree with you on stuff. Like, we even agree with some of the stuff. Like, we write down stuff we don't agree with. Just to, like, again, this is like the theme for this stream is we talk about this stuff a lot. We do pay attention to it. I do take the time to write down suggestions and shit. It's just, yeah. Yeah. So have faith. Maybe one day we'll discover that the thing that we didn't do is actually a thing we should do. We've got it noted, and then we'll do it. But for now, we're trying to. We're just trying to take a certain approach with this stuff, and like that stuff I just mentioned are both things that we want to get in before early access. So you should have seen rock placement before the streams. If you don't think you listen, if you think they don't listen, you should have seen rock placement before the streams. Did not move a single rock this stream. It's true. Can you confirm chat bubbles will be in next playtest? Feet dude? Yes, but only for you. Skulky said, all right, now that I started the chat bubble wildfires of 2025, I'm off to work. Love you guys. Yes. Because of Skulky, you can no longer enter the woods. We have made it illegal for you to enter our woods. Canadians, you get the joke. Fart Nugget said, Nick promised me voiceover IP for the next playtest so that I can hear Quatos sing in-game. Absolutely. Voiceover IP will be in just for you in the next playtest. And if it's not, you should go to Nick's chat next time he's streaming and let him know how upset you are. That guy kill, what's going on? Zarkin said, I think the art style is fantastic for what you guys trying to do, or for what it's trying to do. Sometimes people criticize it because they don't like the game itself, but then another game they enjoy can have the same style and they're perfectly fine with it. I think sometimes also people just see it outside. Sometimes people just see like a screenshot and they're like, eh. I think our game excels when you get in it and it starts to warm you, wrap you, and it's like warm embrace. You know what I mean? I think a lot of it is like if you're looking at this, maybe not the most exciting scene, but the day-night cycle's not happening. You know, you're not actually in here. You're not seeing your character. Little lights aren't hitting you. All that stuff. So most games. You know, I'm not going to say most games. A lot of games aren't really screenshot games. It's more of a, you got to get in an experience type thing. And I think our game really excels in that regards. Anytime somebody says it reminds them of M64, I will take that as a compliment. Because if that is our starting bar, and then they get in, they're like, it's like N64, but it's tickling my fancy even harder, then I think that's great. I think that's what's going to happen. I think if anybody is an N64 fan and they see it and they're like, oh, this reminds me of N64. But then again, like the EQOA people are like, oh, this reminds me of EQOA. You know, there are a lot of different people that I think it starts at a point where it's already kind of like tickling their nostalgia bone, and then it just like pounces on it once they get in. N64 is so universally loved, it's a compliment. Yeah, I agree. Okay, guys. Is somebody from the team streaming? I was supposed to wrap up this stream 38 minutes ago. Is anybody from the team streaming? All right. If Goblin's streaming, then what we can do is we can wait for him to get it up and pause. We can let him get his stream rolling, and we will then raid his stream. And then if he starts talking about chat bubbles, my fantasy will go flaccid. Blue Knight says, I'm usually not a fan of Twitch streams. I would rather play a game than watch it being played. Robot, watching your stream and those of the other NWC members has been a real pleasure, and I thank you for them. Have a great night. I thank you for allowing us to pleasure you. Not even pausing after that one. Christo Disco, thank you for the follow. This is an adult pause. This is, I like the spelling, Rook. This is an adult stream. And as soon as Summit One said he's going to play a Halfling Fighter Man's, take that how you will. I will believe that when you clip it. Source, I made it up. I was about to say, I can absolutely not picture that. And folks, you guys are all very welcome for the stream, and I thank you all individually very much for being here. I hope everybody had a great weekend this last weekend. I will be back on Wednesday. Stick around. Goblin is going to stream and do pretty art, and probably commit to design features or functionality that we are absolutely not going to put in, and we will yell at him behind the scenes, and we will not write down any of his ideas. Good night, Les Biscuits. The only thing I don't like about rating is I feel I don't do a good job of like saying goodnight to everybody beforehand. So we won't raid on Wednesday. So that when we wrap up the stream, I can say goodnight to everybody individually. Unless, yeah, I mean, we'll see. Good night, Quimbley. Quatos, you all get kisses individually. Goblin, are you ready to go? You're live, by the way? Okay. Zare, good night. Wickesloth, good night. Pan, Demon, good night. Do not visit me in my sleep. Tsunami-san, good night. Orcish, good night. Worn Out, good night. Kruvall, laters. XV, Sathaski, a Linux fan, Pipes. I lied. I'm saying good night to everybody. IGT, good night. Class and cool, you have fun with that. Vero, take care. Rondo, see you. My dear friend Justin Beard, see you on Wednesday, buddy. John, see ya. Todd, see you on Wednesday. You haven't started a raid, so you can say goodnight. Right, that's what I'm doing. But I hate because then I think people are going to log out and not be a part of the raid. XV, good night. Gutterwolf, see you. Chaz Solo, take care. Classic EverQuest. At some point, you may actually have to change your name, but you're making great videos, and I thank you for that. Sarah, I love what you're talking about up there with pleasuring. That's good. Zenfar, take care. What's up, Dragon? See you, buddy. Nosa, take care. Todd. If I didn't already say it, see you on Wednesday. True, no, Madman. I appreciate that. Biscuit, nah? Yeah, see you in September as well. Alright. Alright, cool. I'm glad that you guys farmed good nights out of me. Let's raid. Canal, see you. What is the raid button? Not stream together. Raid channel. And honestly, it should always just be right at the top. Like, why is it not at the top? I don't care about any of these other people that it's showing me. These are not my people. Show me the people that I love. Goblin Works. We're starting this frickin' raid. Some of you have already snuck over there. Sneaky. Starting the raid. Oh, there's still a few of you. Neat. Alright, we're raiding now. I will see you guys on Wednesday. Have a very pleasurable rest of your Monday and a delicious Tuesday. And I'll see you on Wednesday. Goodbye. Oh, wait, I just raided. I'm not off yet. A confirm raid. I'm in. And now I am ending the stream.